Hello, good afternoon. This is Stella from Grand Analytics. So it's good to be with you again on another video. So today we will be talking about date tables, and we will be talking specifically about date tables in Power Query Editor, how to create date tables in Power Query Editor. So um, without further ado, let's go to the definitions. What is a date table? So a date table is a table that contains dates. It's as simple as that. It's a table that contains dates, sorry. So, and for a date table, there are certain requirements. The first is a date table must contain a column with the data type as date. And that column must not contain blanks. It must not contain duplicated values. It must contain unique values. So it's more like a primary key column. Exactly. So that's what I meant to say. It's more like a primary key column. So it cannot contain blanks and it cannot contain duplicate values. And it must be of the data type date. Okay. So you may be wondering, why do I need a date table in my model? Like, for crying out loud, my data set, maybe my sales table data set has my sales table has order date, has shipping date. Why do I need a date table? Well, here's why you need a date table. Number one, Power BI has its own hidden date table that it has. The date table is in the background. You cannot see it, but it is in the background. And it uses this date table when you bring your own tables to the into Power BI environment. So if you do not create a date table, you will be forced to use Power BI's date table. So, and the problem with that is you cannot customize it. You cannot, you don't have a lot of control over it. You may not get the granularity of the level of granularity that you desire. So that's the problem with Power BI's data table, because what you cannot see, you cannot control. I think, yeah, that's the point. What you cannot see, you cannot control. So when you create your own date table, it allows you to override Power BI state table. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is this: it allows you to perform time intelligence functions like your year to date, your month to date. You are able to carry out these time intelligence functions with your own data, by creating a date table. Rather, you're able to carry out time intelligence functions. You can use you can use the line chart to do things like time series, check variables over time. And you can also use it for advanced analytics, like the predictive analytics. So it's possible for you when you have a date table. And another thing is this: when you have a date table, like you have a standalone date table that you've created by yourself, it allows you to be able to connect fact tables. For example, you have two fact tables in your model. Maybe one of those fact tables is your orders table, and the other is your shipping table. So your orders table contains its own order date, and it contains some values. Your shipping table contains its own order dates, and it contains some values. So you know that there's a possibility for those dates to be duplicated. Remember that we said the date table cannot contain duplicate figures. So there is a probability that those dates are duplicated. And again, it may cause some cross filtering inaccuracies. So it becomes heavy on your model and doesn't allow you to achieve what you need to achieve. So what you do with your date table, your custom date table, is you are able to use that data to connect both fact tables. So you can filter both fact tables at the same time. So that's why we create our custom date tables. So you may be asking, why are we creating this date table in Power Query Editor? The truth is, you can create your date table in your Power BI model. You actually can do that. And you can do that using the calendar function or the calendar auto function. But the issue with that is when your data refreshes, or maybe when your data loads, or maybe you've done something like automatic refresh or something, the date table that you created in your model will reload itself. Now, that can cause performance issues for your for your report. Imagine you have the dates from 1935 to 2025. That's a lot of that's a lot of data because it cannot contain blanks. So it's going to calculate 365 or 366 days from 1935 up until 2025. Okay. But if you create your date table in Power Query Editor, it reduces the processing time, and it's an optimization measure for your reports. So that is that's one of the reasons why we create our date table in the Power Query Editor, because actually, Power BI also advises that it's better to do your transformations in your Power Query editor before bringing them into the Power BI model. It's also that you can optimize the performance of your model. That's the reason. So today we'll be looking at how to create a date table in our Power Query editor, and if you can follow me step to step, and you will get it. Okay, so we are going to go over to our Power Query Editor to create our date table, where I've already downloaded. I've already brought in a data set, and it is called sales. So I've just loaded only one table, and it's called sales. And sales has the order dates column here. Sales has the order dates column. So we are going to create a custom date table from scratch. We already have our data set. We brought it into the into the Power BI environment. Now, the first thing I'm going to do before I create my date table is I want to know, because for this one, this formula that we're going to use, it's important that we know the start date of our model and the end date of our model. So first thing first, you go to transform, the transform column right here, and you go to date. So what we want to do actually is we want to get the first date and the last date of our sales table. And we'll do that using the order dates column. So I've already highlighted the order dates column. I'm just going to go to date over here, and I'm going to click on earliest. So the earliest is going to give me, and this is it here. This is what I have. 1st of July, 2017. So I'm just going to copy that. And I'm going to put that on my notepad. Earliest. And that will be 2017. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll that back, and I'm going to get the latest date of my model, which is the last date. And I'm going to do that also using the same formula. I'll be transform and go to date and go to latest. And the latest is here. So I have my earliest date and my latest date. And I'm going to write that down as well. Latest. And this is it. So we have the two dates. And what I need from here, because it's a custom date table, your custom date table cannot contain blanks, and it cannot contain duplicate values. So what this basically means is that creating this table, we're going to have figures. Our date is going to run from 1st of January 2017 to the 31st of December 2020. So the new date that we will be looking at will be this 1st 01 2017, and we'll also be looking at 31 12 2020. So these are the dates that we would have in our model without blanks and without repetition. So let's go back to our Power BI environment. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to also cancel this, roll back this. So, right, we have the two dates, which is the first step in this process. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to get our current date. But in order to do that, the first thing we do is we come here, new source, and I'm going to click on blank query. Remember, this is a Power Query editor, so we are going to use our DAX formula otherwise known as the M query language here. We're going to use the M query language here, the M query language in this environment to create our dates table. So I'm going to rename this as dates. So I'll leave that as dates. I've just renamed that as dates. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to get today's dates. And I'm going to use a function called datetime.local. So datetime.local basically means that it should give me today's date of where I am, like my location. I want today's date of my location. And that is datetime.local. So I'm going to put the dot and it's going to get it out for me. This is it. So it's datetime.local now. Yes, you also need to be mindful of this. Don't forget to put your equal sign. Yes, because it's a formula bar, so you should always start with the equal sign. And I'm going to open and close this because it's a function. So but I don't have any arguments to put in it. There are no arguments to put in it. So this is the formula that I'll be using, and it's datetime.local now. And I haven't done this. I'm just going to press my enter. And this is my date time. This is today's date, 24/01/2025. And then it has all these other things. I think this may be seconds, minutes, and seconds, whatever that is. But what we are looking for is 24th of January, 2025. And if you look at my computer, it's the same date, 24/01/2025. And you can also see the local time. Look at that, the local time here. So it has gotten the date for me. What interests us is the date, not exactly the time or the minutes or the nanoseconds. So what I'm going to do is, I haven't gotten this. This is just a result. So I'm going to convert this to a table. So I'll come right over here and I'll click on this and click on to table. And that's it. I have this in table. So I'm going to rename this column to today's dates. Today's dates. I'll call that today's date because it's today. And I'm going to change this to the column date type. And that's it. You see that it has coded that change, all of those changes in the formula bar. So that is the second step. The third step, what we are going to do in this third step is, now because 24/01/2025 is not the date we are looking for. That is not the date we are looking for. The date we are actually looking for is this date. We're looking for 01/01/2017. So in order to get that, we'll come back here to our Power BI. In order to get that, we are going to get, first of all, we are going to get what we call, we are going to get the date for, we're going to get the earliest date, meaning we are going to roll back the dates. And in order to do that, we're going to come to custom column. So what we're going to do now is we are going to get the earliest dates. That is our 2017 date. We're going to derive that date from this date. So we're going to roll back the years. That's what it means. And in order to do that, we'll come to the custom, the column, come to add column, sorry, and we'll come to custom column. Yes, it's going to give us this custom column. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call this column begin date. This begin date simply means the dates, the beginning date for our model based on the year. So based on the year. And in order to do that, we are going to get the beginning date of our model based on the year. And the beginning date of our model is 2017. 2025 from 2017 is 8 years. So we are basically going to roll back today's date, today's date here, by 8 years. Okay, so it already has the equals to sign here. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use a function called the Date.AddYears. Date.AddYears. And with this Date.AddYears, it also takes, you see that immediately I put the brackets, it brings what it expects me to add. And what I'm going to, it expects a date column. And the only date column I have in my model is the today's date. So that is what I'm going to use, today's date. And that's it. So that's here, today's date. And then it's asking me for the number of years as number. So what it is here is, I know the function says had years, but the truth is that is the calculation, the numeric calculation. But the truth is, you can use both an addition or a subtraction. So if I want it to be in 2028, I can use plus, or I can just write the number, it will add it. But if I want to roll the years back, I would have to add a minus sign. That's a subtraction sign. So I'm just going to put a minus here, and I want to roll it back by 8 years. So I'm going to put 8, and I'm going to close the brackets. You see that no syntax errors have been detected, meaning it understands this formula. So I'm just going to put OK, tap OK, and that is it. This is my begin date. So now I have the year, which is 2401, which is 2401 2017. But what I want is 0101 2017, like 1st of January 2017 is my date table, and the date must begin from the beginning. So I'll come back here, and first things first, don't forget, we change this to a date type. Because if we want to use it in a calculation, we must change it to a date type. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to custom column, and I want to get the start date for the year 2017. So I'm going to name this column start date. And so what I'm also going to do is I'm going to use a function known as Date.StartofYear. So Date.StartofYear, because it's the beginning of the year that I need. So now it's also asking for a date column. And this time around, I'm going to use the begin date. I no longer need the today's date. The today's date was just to derive the begin date. From here henceforth, I'll be using the begin date. So the begin date, because it's the date that has the 2014. Sorry, it's a date that has the 2017 in it. It's a date that has the 2017 in it. It's the begin date that carries what we need. The begin date carries the year that we need, which is 2017. If I use the begin date for my equation, if I should use today's date, it's going to give me the beginning date for today's date, meaning it will be 0101 2025. So that is why we use the begin date, because the begin date has the year 2017 in it. So I'm just going to call this begin date. That's begin date. I'll close the bracket, but be mindful, because as you can see here, I have to date. So I'm just going to take that off, and I'm going to click on OK. And there it is. I have it 0101 2017, which is the date that we wanted to achieve. So I'm going to change this to a date type. And that's it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to get the end date, because my end date is 2020. My end date here, if I come to my notepad where I wrote it down, my end date is 31/12/2020. Okay, so what we are going to do with this is we're also going to use the begin date column. We will use the begin date column, but look at how we're going to do it. So I'm going to go back and just going to do a custom column once again, and I'm going to do end date. And with that end date, I'm going to type, like for the start of the year, you use date.start of the year. I'm going to use date.end of the year. So date.end of year. Where is that here? And just be mindful, it has doubled the date here. And I'm going to put an argument, and my argument would be begin date, because begin date is what we're using now. We are no longer using the today's date. That's completed its work. So my argument here is begin date. And if I click on this, my result is going to be 31 January 2017. But let me click on it so that you can see what I'm saying. 31 December, 31/12/2017. So this is 31/12/2017. But this is not what we are looking for. What we are looking for is 31/12/2020. Okay. Remember that the end date was based on the begin date, and we used the function Date.EndOfYear. So that is why it gave us the end of the year for 2017. It didn't give us the end of the year as 2020, which is the end of, it didn't give us the end of the year as 2020, which is where we want our date table to end. Now, the start date is where we want the date table to begin. The end date is where we want the date table to end. And where we want our date table to end is 31/12/2020. So what do? Already we have it here. We have it in the formula bar here. So before you change it to date type, what we are going to do is we are going to edit it right here. So first thing I'm going to do is because what I just need to do, technically what I need to do to this 2017 is just to add 3 more years. So guess what? Guess the function we are going to use. Yeah, you're right. It's Date.AddYears. So I'm going to bring my bracket in here. I'm going to add Date.AddYears there. So with Date.AddYears, now you have to be careful here because Date.EndofYear, begin date, and that, you have to be very, very careful here. We are going to add, now the number we want to add is +3 because it's 2020. So I'm going to bring that and I'm going to add my +3 here. That's 3 years. And now another thing you should do is you must count the number of your brackets. Now this bracket closes this one closes this one, and so you need another one to close this off, and I'm going to add that to it. So okay, it's not showing us any error here. So what I've just done is Date.AddYears, and I've used the bracket to cover this whole equation up here. And what I want to do is add 3 years to it. So I'm just going to click on this, make it right. And look at that. See the change. It's no longer 2017. It is now 2020. 31 December 2020. And we just edited the formula here in the formula bar. So if you understand BODMAS, you will know that equations generally consider the equations that are in brackets first. So what it has done is, the first thing it did was it considered this Date.EndOfYear, begin date. It first of all did the calculation on this one. Then because I now added a function Date.AddYears, after doing the calculation on this, the Date.EndOfYear with the begin date as the argument, it produced 31/12/2017. Then because I added the Date.AddYears, which of course requires a number, I added +3, which is +3 in this case. It then added +3 to 31/12/2017. It added 3 years because look, it's .AddYears, making it 31/12/2020. So that is how we derived our end date here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a date column, to a date type, sorry. And that's it. So end date is sorted. So the next thing we are going to do, you may think, oh, probably we're finished now. No, we are not. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to get, because this is looking like one column. So we want to get the dates between start date and end date. We want to get the dates between start dates and end dates. And the only way we can do that is to use a function called number from. But if you want to use number from, you're going to have to do that in a list. So what a list does in this environment for this equation, what a list does is that it takes the date between start date and end date, converts it to a sequence of numbers understood by mQuery, and those numbers are in how do you in sequential order, more like increasing order. So, but the hem query engine understands those numbers. So let's proceed to create our list. So I'm going to do a new custom column. I'm going to do a new custom column, and this time I'm going to call this custom column, I'm going to call it date. And remember I said we have to create a list because it is that list that is going to allow mQuery to pick out all the dates, between the start date and the end date and keep them together in a list. Okay. So the list I'm going to have, because it's a list, we are going to use curly braces. The moment you use curly braces in Power BI, it understands that you're trying to create a list. Okay. And within my curly braces, I'm going to use a function called number.from. So my number.from is going to convert the values. Let me just use number.from. Okay, so yeah, so that the moment I put that, so number.from, and my argument is going to be, my first argument is going to be start date. That's it. So because it's a list, and because I wanted to get a list of values from two columns, I'm going to use two points, or two full stops, as you may want to call it, 2 points. Then I'm going to put my second column. Power BI understands, the mQuery engine in Power BI understands the sequence of things. It is intelligent enough to understand what you're telling it to do. So this is its own syntax. Number.from again. And this time around, I'm going to use, it's going to be the end date because we want to get the list of values. End date. We want to get the number.from. Okay, where are we closing it? Okay, yes, we didn't close the brackets. Okay, so it's going to get the list of values on the list of dates, sorry, between the start date and the end date, and it's going to convert them to numbers that is understood by the mQuery engine. And those numbers are sequential. What I mean by sequential is it increases. So I'm going to show you. So our equation is ready this way, and because of the curly braces, Power BI recognizes that it's a list. So I'm going to click on OK. And I have a new column, and then I have what I call here date. Now, before you do anything, the next thing you're going to do, when you see this here, you can see that this is the list now. When you see this here, it means that you can expand it. So I will expand it, expand to new rows. So can you see this? 42736, 42737, 42738, 42739, 42740. So it increases in a sequence. There's an increment of 111, which means that each value of this column is unique. That's what it means. Each value of this column is unique. Now, what we are going to do next is this. Now that we've expanded the list, the next thing to do will be to change this list here, to change this data type to date. Now we see that. So we have 0101 2017, 01. So let's see if we can get to 2020. Let me get to descending. And we have 31/12 2020, which is the latest date of this column, of this table. Sorry. So I'm going to clear sort. I'm going to clear sort. And this is also a unique column. You see that 1,000 distinct, 1,000 unique. It meets the criteria of a date table and a date column. But for this, if you look at it, we have just one value for all four. So this is the column that we need. So the next thing we are going to do is we're going to remove the columns that we don't need. And one of the ways to do that is to come to your Home tab and just click on Choose Columns. Choose Columns. And the column we need is the dates column. So I'm just going to untick every other column. And That will be the date column. And this is our date column. So the next thing we are going to do is we want to derive other columns from our date column. This is the exciting, the most exciting bit because it's literally drag and drop. In order to do that, you come to your hard column session. Now you have this on the transform. You also have this feature, this date feature where you can, derive values, you can derive other columns from the data. But if you do it from the transform tab, it's going to keep changing your date column. So this is an example here. The year, okay, here. It's going to change your date column to what to the year. So I'm going to roll back this change. So what you should do instead is come to your hard column. And from this hard column, you use this. So it automatically adds a new column. So year, that's it. So, and you highlight the dates column again. You have another, maybe you want quarter of the year. You highlight your dates column again. And this time around, you want the month. Probably we should do a month, yes. And you highlight the dates column again because it will not be turned on except you use the dates, you use the dates column. And maybe this time I want the name of the month. Have the name of the month. And highlight your dates column again. At this time around, probably I want the day of the week. Let me see. Let me do day of the week. Let me use day first. Then probably I want, let's add the name of the day. So name of the day, that is it, name of the day here. So now I think we are all right with the columns that we have derived. So one more thing we can also do, I'm just going to load this to my model. I'm going to load this to my model. So come to file and I will close and apply. You also need to make sure that the data types are correct. So I'm going to come here to see the date view. Yes, so everything is here. Month name, text, day name, text, quarter number, O number, year. Yes, and you can change the date here if you want. You can change it to a short date. This is a short date. And so one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort the columns. So the reason why we sort the columns is there are certain visuals that when you want to do time intelligence functions, you just notice that it resets your dates in alphabetical order, or it resets your dates in alphabetical order, or it resets your dates in descending order. So it's important for you to make sure that your dates are sequential. So it should be January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah. So, and in order to ensure that, you come here, day name, and you use the sort by column. So I want to sort the day name by day, which is here, sort by column. So we can't sort the day name by day. There can't be more than one value in day for the same value in day name. Please choose a different column for sorting or update the data in day. Okay, so I think the problem with this is because we do not have it listed as day of the week. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can also sort that out in our model. We'll go and sort that out. We'll go and add a new date. So let's sort the month name. We won't have any problems with the month name. And that will be month name July, sort by column. And I'll put my, I will use the month to sort it. Okay, that will get that sorted. And the reason that is sorted is because each of those months has a unique number attached to it. But for the day, the number is not unique, it's repetitive. So we have to use day of the week in this for this case. So what I'm going to do, also looking at this date here, it's Sort ascending. Okay, we've sorted that in ascending and 0101 2017, 0201 2017. So we've just sorted that in ascending because it was reading July. So now we can have January everywhere, January quarter one. Okay, let's go and correct the day and the day name. And in order to do that, we go back to home and we go to transform data, transform data. So these are just issues that may come up when you're creating your date table. So what we are going to do is we come back to dates and we come to add column, remember, add column, or you could even use transform column and change this particular column to the column that you want. But add column and come here, dates, then we would have, that should be day of week. So it's going to add the new column, day of week. So we have day of week now, and I'm just going to close and apply. I'm going to close and apply. And it should appear in my model here. So I have day of the week. So this is day of the week. And I'm going to sort it here. This is my column tools, sort by column, and it's going to be day of week. Yes, so it has worked. So I've sorted the day name by day of week, and it works because each day here has a unique number. So basically, this is how you create your date table in Power BI Query Editor. And there's also one more thing you can do. You can go to your options and settings to disable the hidden Power BI table. And in order to do that, you come to File, Options and Settings, Options. Okay, it's opening up. And when you come to options, you can either do it, disable it for the global whatever, or you can disable it for the current file. So I'll click on current file. And what you are looking for is auto datetime intelligence. This is Power BI's sneaky table. So you just untick this, which gives you complete control, which gives you complete control over your own date table. So this is the last part of it. And you click on OK. And yes, so the date table is ready to be used. So thank you for joining us today. And if you have any questions or if you have anything you would want us to treat as regards dates and date tables or Power BI, if you want anything you want us to treat as regards that, do let us know in the comments section. And do not forget to like, to subscribe, and to share. See you in the next Power BI video for beginners and for those that want to transition into tech. Thank you.